I used to measure my life by when I would get married. Not exactly the date, but the way the timeline is, it was subdivided into before and after marriage. I was idolizing marriage. I know that you're better than me. You're not idolizing marriage, but maybe you are at a point in your life where you really start to analyze and think, is this the kind of version I want for myself? Is this the kind of person that I want to be? Or there's something which is not okay when I'm really looking at it? Hello and welcome to Future Husband Diaries. My name is Maya, Honest's husband. I always measured my life by when I'll get married. I do not have like an exact date to say this is when it will happen. No, but I used to measure my life with the before and the after. And in my mind, I always thought after this is what will happen, before this is what will happen. And when I was looking at the before that I actually had in my mind, I wasn't really doing the work in my life. I wasn't really looking at my life and thinking like this is the greatest version of myself. I should be really enjoying this version. But I was just looking at my life, at my single season as the before the marriage part. That is how I was living. I was idolizing marriage. Are you idolizing marriage? Maybe the reason why you're here is because maybe the title actually drew you closer for you to ask yourself, are you really centering men, or you're really ready to decenter the men that you have in your life? Maybe it might be arbitrary. Maybe it might be the fiance that you have, or the marriage that you recently got into, and you're asking yourself, is this the version that I'm really looking forward to? Is this who I am at this season? If you are, then you're in the right space. What we're going to do is we're going to pick it up, I'm going to chop it up, I'm going to open it up and make sure that we get into the nitty and the gritties and understand who you are as a person without you centering men, without you looking towards a future that is arbitrary, that you haven't even acquired yet, or measuring your life and looking at the season that you're in right now and thinking that it is not unworthy. It's just a pre-marriage season and you're just going to work towards that. But instead, we're going to make sure that you enjoy where you are right now. Be the person that you love. Be who you want to be, not as a way to be a helper to someone else, but as a way to make sure that you grow and strengthen yourself and become the best version of yourself. And as I was saying before, there are 4 things that I actually realized that made me realize that I was actually centering men in my life. Number 1, when I was looking at my finances, I used to say, okay, I'll make investments when I get married. I'll save money when I get married. I'll do this when I have a fiance. With all of those things, I wasn't really looking at my own future, but I was looking at a future with someone else. Does that make sense? I was not doing things for me because at this point, I am single in my life, right? So I should be making investments for me because that's the only person that is there right now. But to me, everything was just looking towards that marriage goal. And I had to take a step back and realize that I was really not doing it the right way. And the other thing is, when it comes to faith, I used to say, I'm going to become this great mother one day. I'm going to become this woman who's filled with faith. I'm going to become this Proverbs 31 woman. I'm going to become this Proverbs 31 woman after I become a mother. Right now, because I'm single, I'm not going to worry about that. I'm not going to look at the faith. I'm not going to grow spiritually with God because when I'm looking at it, I'm like, why should I? Because I'm just single. I'm just in my pre-marriage season. That is how I was looking at it. And the other thing is, when it comes to my career, I used to look at my career and be like, I need a career that is flexible enough so that I can be there for my husband. I need a career that is flexible so I can be there for my children in the future. But I wasn't looking for a career that really satisfied me. I wasn't looking for a career that I really loved, something that I'm passionate about. That is not what I was looking for. Why? Because I was centering everything around marriage. And it took a time for me to actually step back and reanalyze my life so that I can be able to see that I need to definitely decenter men and marriage in my life. Not to stop idolizing it. Are you also in that place in your life where you actually need to reevaluate your life? Because this is your life, not your arbitrary life that you do not have at a certain point. Maybe when you're looking at it, you'll be like, oh, okay, I've done all of this, I've built all of this as a way to make sure that I attract the best mate. But you have not really enjoyed the vision. You have not really enjoyed the journey. You have not really enjoyed where you are. So this is the right space for us. If you are looking to grow, if you are looking to grow for yourself, if you are looking to enjoy the single season that you're in, if you are looking to enjoy this space and be present in real time and not live in an arbitrary future that really hasn't okayed even yet. The title of this trailer or this introduction is wife to be or not to be. That is not the question. Whether you're going to be a wife or whether you're not going to be a wife, that is not the question. That is not why we are here. I know the name Future Husband Diaries actually took you back a little bit, but the reason why I had to actually do that is so that I remember, I tell myself every single day, I need to decenter this. I do not need to look towards this version that hasn't really happened yet, but I need to make sure that I am living in the present. I am grounded in the present that I would like to be. And if you are in that way, come with me. Let's join, let's continue. But if you're not in that space and you feel like, oh, this is not for you, you can just scroll and keep on scrolling and go into something else. But if you are in your life and you really, this question is something that has really made you to take a step back, we're going to do a quiz. And with the quiz, it has about 7 questions. And with this question, we're going to ask this question, you're going to pause, and then you are going to ask yourself the answers, and then from there we're going to analyze these questions so as to make sure that we heal together. We're going to heal together, we're going to grow together, we're going to pray together, and we are all going to be here for you. It's so easy to blame other people for centering marriage in your life because the society that we live in, especially in the Southern African culture, everything that we have been trained for, especially starting from when you are like 5 or what, you've been trained to sit like this. A lady doesn't sit like this. What kind of mother are you going to be? What kind of wife are you going to be? Everything has been instilled in us from a young generation. We've been trying to grow in this space, but culture has actually held us down because everything that we are, everything that we're growing to be, everything has been centered on us being wives and us being mothers and not us being women. And it has taken a lot of time for a lot of spaces to open up to just looking at women as they are. If you are to look at it in terms of achievements, a lot of people, when it comes to I got married, I had a child, the kind of congratulations that you get, everything starts pouring in and everyone keeps on, you get a lot. But when you be like, oh, okay, I got myself a car, yes, you get that applause that you want, but it's not the same applause because it's everything. We have looked at our lives and measured our lives according to what marriage is. And to marriage, that is like the pinnacle of it all. That is where you can say we have arrived. If you haven't got that, then you haven't arrived. That is how we've been looking at it. And that's society, yes. And even this, because it has been drilled into our minds, because it has been drilled to us since we're like babies, since we're like small, it has affected the way we think. And that is what happened to me also. And I had to take a step back and actually and be like, oh, okay, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to be like that. But I'm going to try and love the version of myself that I'm in, grow the version of myself and become this empowered because of who I am, not what I am to other people, but because of who I am. It's so easy to blame other people for all this, but now we need to make sure that we readjust our minds. So with question number 1, the question number 1 that I'm going to ask you with the 7 questions that we have, I'm going to ask this question. You're going to pause and then you're going to answer truthfully. Please be radically truthful in this way so that we can be able to get to the nitty-gritties. It said, if I ask you to tell me about yourself, what would you say? Without mentioning your job, without mentioning your relationship status, or without mentioning your future, what would you say? And I wrote something here. It says, we measure our worth by how we would like to be seen, job status, and think if I say this, then my status will rise. And if we do all of this, that's how we have measured ourselves. And if I say I'm married, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, And then, like it's instantly you become at a certain level. And with the jobs that we have actually done and we have measured ourselves into that is what has happened. When I was growing up in our school, we used to have what we call a graph. Graph was maybe like your social standing when we're looking at it. Who you dated had a lot of impact. You had this you sort of like you were famous, you're like the socialite. If maybe you were dating someone who was also in that league, that is how we used to measure it. And with that, it was instilled in us that as a girl or as a woman, my worth is in who I was dating. That is how it was. And when I was looking at it right now, that's when I started to take a step back and be like, oh, okay. Those things were instilled in us even from a young age. And the other thing is, when I was looking at, if I watched the movie Runaway Bride, yes, I'm sure a lot of you have watched that movie. I like that movie. And the thing is, when the reporter was coming into her and she was asking and be like, okay, what kind of eggs do you like? She couldn't answer what kind of eggs she likes, because every single time, whenever she was looking at it, she liked the kind of eggs that whomever she was going to marry liked. And when she was walking down the aisle, that's when she had to take that step back and analyze and see that this isn't the version that she wanted to be. Are you like that? Are you like that? I'm asking, are you like that? What kind of eggs do you like? Are they entangled in the relationship that you are in, or what? Or maybe to you, what are your imaginary eggs? It might not be eggs. Maybe you love your eggs in that way. I do not know how you like your eggs. But how do you like something else? Is there something that you like in your life? Not because you like it, but because the person that you're dating, the person that you dated before actually liked this. Now, because of that, you started to like this. What are your imaginary eggs? And then the other thing is, be interesting. Be interesting. Be unique. Be whoever you want to be. My brother used to say that when I was young, would be I don't know what I don't even know the whole story, but I was telling him no, I want to be normal. And then I was like, why would you want to be normal? Because when you're looking at normal, it's like a normal distribution curve. I was like, huh? What are you talking about? And then it was the reason why society will say and term this to be normal is because a lot of people are doing it. And if you are on the outskirts, you will be considered an outlier. That is how society has. So try not to be normal. Try to be unique. Try to be the best version of whomever you want to be. And try to be very interesting. Imagine you're invited to a party, right? Invited to a party and the invitation is nice, everything is all good and what, and then when you get there, the conversations are dull and boring. Everything is there. Maybe you're promised an elephant, maybe you're promised I don't know what you're promised. All of those things are there, but the conversations are dull, they are uninteresting. What is it that you're going to do? If you're like me, you're just going to pull up your phone and try to look for something which is much more interesting. That's what you're going to do. So that is what is happening. A lot of people maybe aren't being around you because technically you're not being interesting. Why? Because you're trying to be something that you're not. You're trying to be another version of yourself, which is not you. Be unique, be who you are. Be happy and love the person that you. If you are quiet, be quiet. You don't have to try to be talkative in a way and then end up resenting that person. What you need to do is to embrace who you are, grow, and build yourself to be very interesting. That is what I have. And then number 2, imagine the best day of your life. Where are you? What are you doing? What does life look like? When you're looking at this, was marriage really the center, or was it part of that life? When you are looking at this, the best day of your life, maybe when you're looking at it, what is the best day of life? And be the best day of my life, I'll be getting married and what? Or I'll be walking in with my husband, I'll be walking in with my kids. Your worth, have you entangled it up to other people, or you are who you are? The best day of your life should be about you, right? Not about who you be to other people. I'm not saying let's be selfish. No. I'm not going to be like that. You go on further, you notice what I'm saying. But best day of yourself should be looking into you. What is it that you love? What is it that is making you great? What are those things that will actually build you up? So you shouldn't look at it as the best of my life is when I get married. You need to decenter that if that was your answer. So you need to start building your career, your character. You need to the other thing is, what is stopping you from building that version? Like when you are looking at your life, like the best version that you had at that point, right? Who you are, what are you doing when you are looking into that? What is stopping you from building? What is stopping you in growing so that you can be that and you become the best version that you actually imagined? What is really stopping you? And have you decentered man and marriage in your life at that point? That is a question that I'm asking. Question number 3. How do you feel about your life these days? Would finding someone make you feel better? If you said yes to the second question, you attached your life into someone else. You are looking for someone to actually fill that void, that happiness that you have in your life. And I was reading this, and this woman was saying, if you are to look at it in terms of like loneliness, right? In terms of loneliness, you'll be looking at your life and like, oh, okay, I'm going to be with this person and maybe I won't be lonely. No, you can still be lonely and be with that version of that person that you really like. Maybe like, oh, okay, once I get a husband, then I will not be lonely. You might be lonely. You might move across the world, or that person might go to work. Then what are you going to do? You might be lonely. Or that person might just be next to you, but you'll still be lonely. Do not attach your emotions or your loneliness or and expecting that someone else will fill in that void that you have for you. You need to find what makes you happy and feel it like that. The person that is coming in, the person that is going to marry you, the person, the wife, the children that are going to come, right? What they should do is to add on top of the happiness that you have actually acquired for yourself. Acquire that happiness. Find the things that give you joy. There are so many things. Maybe when you're looking like, I do not have anything else that gives me joy. Find the things that give you joy. Try all those things so that you can be able to find what makes you to be happy. Find the things that fulfill your life, because there are so many things that can fulfill your life, but you're not really trying because you're trying to look for someone to come and fill in that void. They might come and fill in that void temporarily, but what happens if that person is not there with you? What happens if that person dies? What happens if that person decides that they do not like you anymore? What is it that you're going to do? Are you going to end your life? What is it that you're going to do? Are you going to keep being happy, or you're just going to become depressed because that person has left you? That is a question that you should be asking. And number 4, it says, is there any heartbreak, disappointment, or trauma that you haven't dealt with? When you're looking at heartbreak, trauma, or this, they have a way of affecting our lives. And when they affect our lives, they make it in such a way that we start to look at the world maybe in a different way, right? And they affect us. So you need to make sure that you heal first. I'm not saying there's a version where we're like, okay, I'm going to heal now. I'm going to take a year, I'm going to heal, and after 1 year, I'm going to be healed. That is not going to happen. But what you need to do is to make sure that you take the step. You make sure that you make that effort to actually move on from this version that you're in. It's hard, it's difficult, but try to make sure that you heal. So many things. Get a book, watch a podcast, get therapy. Get therapy. I don't know how many times I can say this. Find the therapy that you need. Find the happiness that you need back, and make sure that you heal from that trauma. And there is no timeline, there's no specific timeline to say that you're going to be healed from this trauma in a space of a year, you're going to be healed in a month. That is not possible. But you know yourself, start to make sure that you are intentional about making sure that you heal from that trauma. Because trauma can actually affect relationships and can affect how you are. With trauma, maybe you might find that you get depression from that. And the way you start to look at your life, it will be very depressing. And the way that you start to interact with other people will actually show because of the trauma that is happening. Trauma happens. A lot of disappointment happens in life. But make sure that you start and make sure that you're intentional about making sure that you heal. Question number 5. Do you feel comfortable in your body? What would you change if you could? When you're asking yourself this, maybe there was something in your body, be like, oh, okay, I would like to change this. I'm not comfortable in this and that and that. But maybe I would like to dress well. Maybe I would like to lose a little bit of fat. All of that is fine if you are doing this for yourself. If you are doing it so as to attract someone else, or if you're doing it so as to make sure that someone looks at you, or make sure, or you get the applause that you need, maybe you get the likes from Instagram, then that is the wrong motive. When you are looking at this, you need to make sure that you do this. You change if you want to change, or if you don't want to change, but do all of this because it is good for you, not for other people. I found that there are some people who go to the gym and they lose a lot of this weight. And, after like 150 pounds, someone has lost all this weight. And then at the end of the day, they still feel depressed because okay, I thought that if I lose this weight, I'll feel like this at this point. And it doesn't happen for you. Then at the end of the day, that person becomes depressed. Why? Because the motive was for people to give you the applause. And people didn't give you the applause. And now you be like, okay, why are people not noticing me? Now you become what? If you are doing it as a way to make yourself feel better, then you do not need applause from anyone. Then you do not need anything from anyone. And then at that point, even if people do not give you the applause, you still feel good. But if you feel like you love your body, you love this about yourself, continue being that. Love yourself. Love yourself. That is what I'm saying. Love who you are. Be happy and comfortable in the space that you. There are some things that you, when you're looking at, be like, oh, okay, I'd like to dress better. What's stopping you? Start now. I'll be like, oh, okay. I like to make sure that I do my hair. Do your hair. Oh, okay, I would like to do this. Do it so as to make sure that you feel good. You yourself, not because your intention is to make sure that you get the applause from other people, because living your life to get applause from other people, that is I don't know what to say, but it is not a good strategy. It is not a good strategy because if you're looking at that, there are so many people that have upended their lives or that have changed their lives so as to make sure that they fit into a box while they were supposed to fit into a square. Maybe they were supposed to fit into a circle. And when they have fit into this box, it's now harder for them to get out because, people are saying, oh, what a beautiful square you are. But in your heart, in your mind, you know that you're supposed to be a circle. And it becomes so tiresome, it becomes so heavy because this version of yourself, you do not like it. You might look good to other people, but you do not like that version. You do not have to do other things for other people's attention. So do not do this because a lot of us look into Instagram magazines and we see this version. Or we see this person and then we'll be like, okay, I want to look like that. And a lot of people have actually washed their faces trying to look like someone else. Other people have, maybe they haven't washed their faces. Maybe they look good looking like that person, but they don't feel like themselves anymore. Why? Because they were trying to fit a standard that was not for them or that they shouldn't really be looking into because, someone else looks like that. Oh, okay, it's fine. Let them look like that. That's who they are. Look like the version of yourself that you are imagining. Look like the version that you really like in your life. And question number 6 is, what is your relationship with God like? I like this one. What is your relationship with God like? When you're looking at this, do you feel comfortable in the vision that you have? Like the kind of time that you spend with God? Are you comfortable with that? Or when you're looking at it, be like, this is not the version that I want. Start studying the Bible one verse at a time. Start increasing the number of times you interact with God. Start praying more. Start getting closer to God, not as a way to make sure that other people see you, but as a way to make sure that you see yourself and you love the relationship that you have with God. There's so many people that have come to the internet to be like, oh, look at me, I'm studying the Bible. Look at me, I'm reading the Bible, when they're technically not reading it. And then in your mind, you'll be like, oh, okay, I don't look like that person. because they seem to have their life together. They seem to have God so strongly with them. And you might be surprised that technically in their life, maybe they're just doing this for the show, but they're not doing that. And maybe you strive to have that version that they are showing on the internet. And it becomes harder for you. Work with your life. Work with what works for you. Maybe you see that this person studies the word and journals like 5 times in a day. It's not possible for you, maybe because you work at a place which is so far away, or maybe you work at every single time you're not allowed to hold anything else. You do not have the time. But what you can do in your commute, listen to something, listen to our verses, listen to the music. When you're working, that song that is in your heart that is praising God, that is what you should be doing, because that is what works for you. Do it and make it in such a way that your relationship is all about you and God, and not about you and other people, right? And grow it into a version that you really love. Grow it into this version that you're like really comfortable. Like, I'm loving this. I'm getting closer to God, not for the applause of people, as I've said, but to make sure that you grow your relationship with God. And because you're not going to magically transform. That's the other thing. You're not going to magically transform and be like, tomorrow I'm just, I'm going to start studying 5 times a day. It's not going to be possible, because after day 3, you're just going to quit. And it's going to be terrible for you. You feel guilty and you what? No, start small. Start with a verse. If maybe you haven't started, start with a verse. Or if maybe you were studying twice and you want to come to about 5 times a day, add one verse at one time, and then once you are used to it, you add another one, so as to make sure that you grow steadily. Growing steadily will actually make you more focused than being radical about it, like, I'm just going to cut, I'm just going to be this version. And it's going to be hard to keep up, because after day 3, I'm serious, after like day 3, everything will be like, it won't work for you. And then the last question that I'm going to say is, if you can invite 5 friends to a weekend getaway, do you know who you would invite? So, as I said before, like, marriage doesn't cure loneliness, right? The part that I was talking about. And then there are some parts that you have to invest in. You have to invest in your family. You have to invest your time in family, friends. I'm not saying like have this big circle. No, I do not even have that big circle of friends. But I have the friends that I have, that I trust, that I want. It's having a circle. It's not about having a circle of like, oh, okay, I saw her having 5 friends, so therefore I'm also going to have 5 friends. Maybe 5 friends will not work for you because you're an introvert, and keeping up with those schedules will actually make your life not really good. But work with your life, find out the character that you are, and find the versions that you're in. Find the right kind of people that will actually click to you and will actually build you up. If you're not comfortable with those friends, then you need to make sure that you communicate well. And with this will actually help you to grow. This will actually build you up, because there are some spaces in your life where platonic friends or platonic people need to fill that void, and where marriage will not fix that, or where children will not fix that. And you need to make sure that space is filled with the right kind of people that will build you up. You can be lonely and still be in a relationship. You just have to remember that. But you need to remember that you have other people in your life that will actually help you to grow. And if you got this and these questions are coming to you and be like, oh, okay, I really need to decenter my life, and I really need to look into my life and find out exactly what I am. What you can do is, I'll put the link in down below where you can actually get to the journal of me, where actually learn more about yourself, grow spiritually, grow intentionally about every aspect in your life. And you can use this to actually be a template that will actually help you to grow. And with that, you can even go on to other videos that I've actually posted, and you can listen to that and learn more about yourself. Ask yourself, have this open mind. Ask yourself, the way I've been dating, is it really affecting me? And who am I? Am I the best versions when I'm in a relationship? Do I like who I am? Do you like who you are at this point? Or is marriage really for me, or is marriage really not for me? These are the questions that you should be asking yourself. Know yourself. Do not take what society just dishes out and then you just input into you, but be unique, be interesting, be whomever you want to be, so that at the end of the day, you're comfortable in the skin that you got. This is the only opportunity that you have at this point, and make sure that you love it and grow. And watch these other videos, comment, share with someone who think definitely they need to descend a man in their life. They need to descend a marriage in their life. They need to make sure that they grow first so that they become better versions of themselves. So I hope that you'll like, subscribe, share with someone that you definitely think will benefit from this. And don't forget to heal, pray, and journal.